last phrase, worthless. Ouch. And then to be thrown outside, you see, in the darkness. And for any Jewish, if you're a rabbinical scholar, know, if you're in the dark, you're not in the light. You're outside. There's a community word there as well. You're estranged. This is hell. So to impress the importance of the separation from the master's happiness, that you can't, this is a place of weeping, gnashing of teeth. It's not a good ending. Have you ever made a decision that have left you with that sense of grief, that you ground your teeth? What a terrible predicament to be in. There's no evidence of second chances. No resources to come to. And of course, it's a parable, a story. And to apply our own earthly reality to this heavenly opportunity. A heavenly opportunity to this earthly reality. The word that is so absent from this servant was, wait for it, trust. He was not trustworthy. And fear can do that, leading to faithlessness that can produce fear. But underlying the whole scenarios of the first two servants, trusted the master enough to proceed with the gifts. I wonder if the one with 5, if in his enthusiasm had invested in, what would be a bad investment? You're an investor. You know. If they had invested in ice cream makers for Eskimos, didn't work. Didn't work. Lost his money. But if he had come and said, Master, I tried really hard. It seemed like a really good sales thing. And I lost your money. I'm sorry. You think the master would kick him out? I wonder. However, this scenario seems to underline that the latter servant operated with fear, not in faith. And like the Garden of Eden experience of simply hiding, the third servant went off and hid. There was no trusting relationship. Again, I think back in growing up years, another time of entrustment that was given to me. My dad had bought a little white Acadia, a little car. And my mother's uncles took him aside and said, Harry, my sister deserves a better car. This little car sounded like a pony. And if you drive a pony, that's fine. But my uncles, you see, thought that their sister needed a better car. So my dad dutifully traded that off and bought a Pontiac. Grandma's, nice car, silver, happened to be a 2-door, very lovely red interior. I was just 16, and I thought I'd work pretty hard. Do you think I can have the keys to the car and try it out? I've got some friends I want to see in town. My dad's no dummy. He asked me, well, who are you seeing? Well, okay, it was good. Anyway, where are you going? That's conversation. And of course, our little town didn't have a movie theater, so we had to go to Davidson. Well, okay. But to be given the keys, you see, to a new car, it still smelled new. It's wonderful. What a sign of trust. And that's what God would do for us. He would hand us the keys to the kingdom. And He does so, again, it's written in our confirmation liturgy, isn't it? The keys to the kingdom is the power of forgiveness. The keys to the kingdom is to be in relationship. The keys to the kingdom is relying in faith. In the midst of this entrustment, very quickly I'll talk about the Old Testament lesson that comes from Exodus that you read. The Israelites wandering in the wilderness. It's very specified how many days. They're kind of like 15 days out to catch that. They're just gone. They're quite new. It's not like they're 3 years out into the desert and the wilderness wanderings. They're en route to the promised land. They've had some significant faith encounters. They have boundaries that have been exceeded. The Israelites had left on a high. They had a miraculous redemption experience from the Pharaoh's army following the 10 plagues, really. This Red Sea crossing, they've just had it. Amazing. The hope of the promised land pinched against the drought and threat of the desert, though. And now these days without fresh bread and no meat. Their fear had been fueled by the memories of having plenty to eat back in Egypt. One translation, we long for the cucumbers that we had. We'd rather be in slavery and making bricks if we could just have some cucumbers. In the midst of this complaining and perhaps even realistic fears of survival, God calls Moses to teach the chosen people to trust. And again, amazingly, they're entrusted with manna, this heavenly bread. And all the instructions, just take enough for the day. On the sixth day, take enough for Sundays, the Sabbath, I should say. Within that bread as well, they're given quails. And there's scholars that wonder if there was a storm that brought in the migrating quails and dropped them on the camp. Either way, we see a miracle. Trusting God to provide was not just a theological conception, but a tangible reception of his daily bread. And for us to gather and worship is that same theme anew. Great story of God being trustworthy and trustworthy to his people. God's chosen and appointed people who again and again fall out of faithlessness and choosing to doubt God rather than believe. Maybe you've been on that cycle, as I know I have too. Choosing to serve ourselves rather than to serve God. Choosing fear over faithfulness. But as I consider the entrustment that God has with us, his children today, his servants of this time and place, the richness of our heritage, the wealth of our resources, we should be amazed. You've maybe done at a retreat setting or another conference perhaps, to simply add up the net worth of what you're wearing. And if you want to start from your bottom, your shoes and your socks, and whether it's pants or pantyhose, whatever, there you go. And belt and tops, and then perhaps a watch, or earrings, jewelry, eyeglasses. Some of us have dentures, you see, little false tooth, hearing aids. And maybe some of us have some of those electronic things in our pockets too. Our net worth as Canadians, what we walk around with on the street, is amazing. And then when we go out and put our coat on, you see, with our gloves and our tooth and our scarves, and we might have a set of car keys there. We may have a set of cars or afford a bus ticket. And we're going to maybe an apartment that we can afford, or a house that we somehow. The net worth in this building is absolutely astounding. And that's just physical, material. If we started to add up the worth of this community, you see, with the heritage of hope, and the reason that any of us are probably here because we have people, perhaps parents, sometimes pastors, teachers, people who have brought us to this place of grace. If we added up the worth among us, unbelievable gifts of entrustment. And we'd never be like that third servant, you see, that would bury the talents. That would be us. We would want to double and increase and share. And as Jesus declares, not only 30, 60, but 100-fold of the seed, to enlarge and grow the gift of faith for others. And thus may we be people who hear, well done, good and faithful servants. You've been faithful in the things you've been given, and a few things, which is really many, and I'll put you in charge of even more. Come and share and experience in your Master's happiness. As I consider our annual general meeting today, utilizing those gifts that we've been given, the gifts of creativeness, resources, intelligence, diligence, gifts of spouse, all those gifts of children, grandchildren, gifts of relationships, worthy to pass on. Like keeping a long view on that road, you see, as you drive the tractor in furrow. So annual meetings do that. And like the month of January, that we just experienced, as we look both ways, forward and future. The theme of trustworthiness allows us to look both to the past. God has been faithful yesterday, today, and forever. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We look forward. The current emphasis on our photo directory board, reactivated and updated, is all part of entrusting the gifts of you people, so we know one another better. As part of the expression of God's kingdom in this time and place. And our AGM today will help us to celebrate what God has planted, that we can be part of a harvest of his kingdom in the community here and beyond. I'll give advance on behalf of our church management team our early April visioning process. Announce lampstands that a very creative young lady is going to put together, so that these Lenten lampstands will be distributed next Sunday, so you can have family devotions around a candle. I look forward to that very much. Tyler Cable, that's going to be great. For those 40 days of Lent that happens beginning in March. I've also reflected on my